I suppose it's been a bit too long since we've had the foul forces of the vampire counts on the channel. Today, Dutch Skink is going to make his return to take them against the Warriors of Chaos. We've got a front line of zombies here, a second line of Graveguard, great weapons to back them up. Looks like 4 Graveguard, 5 zombies, Vargolf here, nice mobile support monster, Manfred up on a dragon, and 2 Blood Knights. Also on a dragon is the Chaos Lord. 2 Exalted Heroes means no caster, which I respect, even if it is not the best choice. We've still got some, Marauders, great weapons in the front line here, Chaos Warriors, Halberds behind them, and Knights of the Brazen Throne for some anti-infantry. But let's see if they are deployed against the infantry here, which would be definitely these Graveguards, best targets for them to go after. But, yeah, a little duel of these dragons up in the sky should go in favor of the Chaos Lord. He does have much better stats overall, but this beautifully straight line engagement is going to set up a little something here for the Vampire Counts, a true classic, well known to all campaign players, of course, that being the spell, the one and only Wind of Death. Yes, indeed. And let's see, I'm gonna keep my eye on this big line as these Halberd Warriors engage. I will say, somewhat unnecessarily, they are more or less just running into Graveguard, great weapons, but I see he pulls them back now because Wind of Death can scatter a little bit. It's not as straight as it used to be in terms of the pathing of the wind, and I don't know if that was actually an overcast there. If we take a look here, it is 100% AP damage, so yeah, it does absolutely wipe the floor with those Marauders. I guess maybe the Chaos Warrior Halberds aren't 100% engaged yet, but a little breath attack in response from the Chaos Lord, nuke some of those Graveguard down. And just in general, although the Graveguard are anti-infantry and will generally trade well, the numbers game isn't necessarily in their favor in this fight versus both the Marauders and the Halberds. But Marauders also eating some breath attacks there. Looks like we missed out on a engagement here on the flanks. The Knights of the Brazen Throne trying to maybe get around, it looks like, the Blood Knights. The Blood Knights managed to intercept, ambush from the forest. Very classic move. With the Vargolf support there, they're going to get a pretty good engagement against that elite Horn Cavalry. As the other Blood Knight comes to move through, start getting some rear charge opportunities through here. Yep, gonna land on those Halberds there. Probably be able to break their leadership. Maybe try and punch through and get after that Chaos Lord, keep him pinned on the ground, but no. They're not able to get him in time, although it does look like they will rout those Halberds. Manfred gonna swing over to the other Blood Knights, try and get in range to get support from them, and the Vargolf. Chaos Lord wisely is going to peel here a little bit. Oh, looks like he was maybe lining up a breath attack there, but decided to cancel out of it. Meanwhile, Blood Knights, Lances, yeah, the Marauders are going to be an obviously great target for them to charge. That lack of armor and melee defense can still get absolutely crushed there. That breath attack lines up for a little swing and a miss, unfortunately, on the Blood Knights as they are on the move. Dutch Skink manages to make a nice little dodge. And this is Conquest. Right now, Chaos actually hasn't seized the objectives. They're not actually accruing any victory points. Might not end up mattering, but let's see. Chaos Lord's going to land here. Does have a little bit of pathing and animation issues, which is most unfortunate. The Chaos Dragon here just unable to land and actually do any attack animations, which I say it's unfortunate. It's probably most fortunate for him. Definitely would have died there to superior resources of Vargolf, Blood Knights, Manfred, lots of scary stuff for a lone Chaos Lord to try and deal with. He is just a dragon boy, but oh, another Wind of Death gonna fall in here. Let's get it close. Follow its path of destruction. Yeah, somewhat destruction. And the breath attack as well. That's actually gonna kill models a little bit more effectively, but overall, great damage between those two. Manfred so far racking up the value, 124 kills, 2,500 damage value, 30,000 damage already. And there's still some battle left to play. Probably not a lot of battle left to play, but we'll see. Not looking great for the Warriors of Chaos right now. Exalted Hero, well, can maybe trade okay against the Vargolf. Problem is being on foot. And the Vargolf's animations just kind of make them, like, tricky in general. Get knocked around a lot. They kind of get knocked over sometimes. They move around a lot. So it can be hard, especially for infantry characters, to actually get attack animations on them. But over here, Manfred lands on this Exalted Hero, and there's nothing to protect him from the charge of the dragon, even if it is just a zombie dragon. I say just. Zombie dragons are quite decent right now, in general. Not that you have much choice with vampire counts. I guess you could take a lord that has access to a Terror Geist, but I do think that zombie dragon generally pretty good. Most dragons, kind of from the mid-tier up, are generally pretty good. Sun Dragon is kind of maybe the worst, and it is the lowest in value. So, interesting. Anyway, discussion for another day. A little breath attack there, as Vargolf actually gets himself into a little bit of a pickle. Yeah, another Wind of Death going to be thrown down here, though. As the Chaos Halberds, they get a little melee defense and leadership. And, yeah, I guess maybe the other ones were overcast. That seemed to do very little damage, honestly. The Vargolf actually forced into crumbling by the Halberds here in a surround, but Hammer and Anvil activates the Hammer of the Blood Knights into the Anvil of the Vargolf, just holding these Halberds down. And Manfred himself moves in with the last of the Grave Guard. Vargolf probably will survive here. That's always one nice thing with their passive regeneration. Quite escapable as well with that animation set. They are incredibly hard to kill at times. But, yeah. Let's see. Come in and take a little 2v1 with Manfred. Yep, you see how the Vargolf just gets knocked over there. So during that time he's knocked over, you know, it's hard for him to actually take much damage. Means he can actually end up tanking out, similar to like a foot character, right, in that way. But yep, gonna be a victory for Dutch Skinks, Vampire Counts, and a fun one for sure. Just, you know, a little bit of a two-face rush builds, just pummeling each other, which I appreciate to a degree, but definitely some of the, on that front, some of the sort of micro, if you will, like the sort of micro level, the small level engagements between like single entities or just a handful of units oftentimes can define how the overall battle plays out. Just generally, Manfred with his ranged damage, essentially, with his breath attack and his Wind of Death spell, was able to just accrue a ton of value and get some pretty good value just chomping in melee as well. Chaos Lord's actually not a bad pick here, but I definitely think you'd want to pick up Lord of Fire Sorcerer to synergize with him. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But generally here, the Halberds are also a decent choice. This has been a tough matchup at times for Chaos Warriors, but I do feel like things are maybe a little bit different now with some of the tools they have access to. But yeah, Graveguard weapons generally trade very well here. One of the Blood Knights gets more like anti-infantry work done. Doesn't get a ton of value. This one definitely gets some high value, though fighting those Knights of the Brazen Throne. But yeah, the Chaos Dragon recently had its fire damage restored, which is a really nice thing. The High Elves definitely should get it as well. All their dragons should deal fire damage in melee, but you can come in here, either the Sorcerer Lord or the Lord himself can come in here and pick up Chaos Dragon, which again gives you fire damage, which means you do have very direct synergy with one, maybe two Lords of Magic here. I guess one for sure, with Lord Fire, and also if you take Tzeentch, Chaos Sorcerer of Tzeentch, you would get a little bit of not Kindle Flame, but yeah, if you take like the Warp Flame spells that have the Warp Flame contact effect, you can get a little bit of synergy, but obviously Kindle Flame map wide. Weakness to fire is just in general great synergy. And yeah, I would definitely recommend pairing that. Of course, Cascading Fire Cloak is a great synergy buff because it's cheap to spam. Also, on him specifically, will buff his melee defense and weapon strength and give him the damage boost from Kindle Flame. So really is a great way to kind of synergize there. Sky on the Dragon, only 2100. I say only. It's decently expensive, but not the most expensive in the world. You can also get some extra little goodies here if you want them. You know, greater than 50% if he's in melee. I don't like that has two conditions. I think that's maybe not worth 150 gold. Ether Sword, if you have the gold, that could be a good pickup, especially when you time it with Cascading Fire Cloak and Kindle Flame, obviously. Get that extra damage spike. And Sundered Armor, too, will help synergize with other troops. Sandred Eye, you know, it's definitely a good one to pick up for the extra melee defense and leadership if you can get access to it. Deadly Onslaught, again, if you somehow, you know, you can go for a kind of all-in weapon strength, but the risk of doing that is that your opponent can just, you know, move away and try and wait out the uptime of those abilities. Yeah, is it worth picking up an extra 300 gold worth on him? Hard to say. If AoE immune to psychology in certain matchups, I definitely think this would probably be worth it. But yeah, extra 5% charge bonus really isn't going to do much for anyone. But in general, I would say, yeah, synergy between Lord of Fire. Of course, like I said, you can take this guy himself as a sorcerer instead of the melee variant. And so you can just do the direct self-buff synergy of like Lore of Fire with Cascading Fire Cloak. Still not going to be as potent in melee, but you save a little bit of value doing it that way, and it's not having to take 2 separate characters. And he's also got access to Tormentor Sword, which is a really nice item. Really, really nice item in general. So, yeah, some things to consider there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.